I had somebody who I give a 9 to said that I absolutely wrecked the business. Have a go at me as much as you want and call me all names you want. Let's not bring innocent children into this. Everywhere, I'm covered, got all over, and somebody comes running over. Where my takeaway? Can I have a photo?
But do you think that's the lowest point you've had in your life?
What do I do? I've got 3 kids at home at the time. The world just exploded for them. I'm a big believer in if you give back, right, you're going to get it back. Twofold to yourself. I found it weird more than anything. People were like, oh, you've done so much for us and you've helped us through tough times, through lockdown. How can me eating a burger or a kebab help you?
The question is, what is Danny Malin eating when he's not reviewing takeaways?
If you can make people laugh, right, that's better than having the bod of a god.
So today we are joined by Danny Malin from Rate My Takeaway. First and foremost, mate, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No, thank you very much, mate, for inviting me on. And, you coming down to me and me putting you inside this little lockbox.
What I will say straight away, first and foremost, for people who haven't been down here, this is a food court, obviously the Rate My Takeaway food court.
Yep.
And it's unbelievable, the establishment. All these businesses rotating and doing all their things. And people, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but behind us is absolutely Ramo in here. And have you sampled all the food yourself from all these places?
Definitely, yeah. So basically all the full-time vendors that are in, they're people that I've rated in the past.
Right.
And then I've got 3 rotational vendors, so I've tried them as well. But what I wanted to do with this is look at the independent businesses that I'd rated in and around the Leeds area and bring them to Huddersfield. And I looked in the city centre, the town centre of Huddersfield, and realised that, what it were lacking were these places, the quality of food, what they do. So to be honest, the people of Huddersfield have embraced it over the last 3 weeks and they're loving it.
You know what's mad? I know I told you kind of off camera how addictive your content is. I know that I must have watched a kind of few episodes now, and obviously people watching this will know who you are anyway. How did your journey start, mate? Obviously, everyone's going to look at the views you get and the kind of how famous you are. Everyone knows who you are. We've had fans stopping at the window. I thought it was for me. And obviously we've seen you, the amount of attention you get. What was your journey to actually make this happen?
Yeah, so before doing Rate My Takeaway, I worked in Leeds Kirkgate Market at Butchers, and through lockdown, obviously we were classed as key workers, so we were in there and I were out delivering meat to people. And just before the full-on lockdown come, when everybody were going on about bog rolls and they were that big hyper buying them all, I made a bit of a joke and I said, if people find out I've got 50,000 bog rolls and 8,000 sanitisers, they're going to kick my bloody door in. And it went viral, 8 million views, and I'm thinking, what is going on? And woke up next day, because to be honest, I just knew how to work Facebook. I'd just got my head around that, so everything else I didn't really have a clue what it were all about. And then through lockdown I started doing promotional videos for the Butchers, and I just bumped into this lad one day while I was delivering meat to a shop, and he said to me, look, I've got a couple of social media channels, I think I can help you out, we like what you do on the Butchers channel and stuff. He says, give us a call. So to be honest, I didn't think much of it. 2 weeks later I found his number in my van. I thought, do you know what, I'll give this guy a call and see what he's talking about. That turned out to be the editor of Rate My Takeaway, and he said to me, they got Rate My Takeaway on Facebook, they got 200,000 followers, and it was just picture content. So they said to me, would you mind doing a video? So I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, we'll buy you a kebab, you eat it, rate it, tell us what you think. And I thought, well, if you're paying, pal, I'm on it. Being Yorkshireman, I thought, oh, for no, bang, I'm having some of that. And we did that, and the cameraman, he was in partnership with him, and we all got together and we just continued to do it. And then about 8 months later, we put it on YouTube, and bang, it just went viral. And since then, we've just been full steam ahead with it, to be honest.
How was it like for you then, Danny, though? Obviously going from, you're in that meat market, if you like, and then you're doing your things you're doing, and getting all this attention online. Is that something that you took easy? Did you love that? Because I know for me, when I've had certain experiences, as I told you before this, I didn't know how much I liked that. I guess it's something you can learn to like, but for you, how was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think because, I've never been afraid of things, do you know what I mean? I'll always put myself out there. I don't get embarrassed very easy. I talk about my weight quite a lot. So, when when people started stopping me in the street and asking for photos, I found it weird more than anything, because I just couldn't believe I'm a normal bloke. You know, I've got a normal job like anybody else at that time. And I was just filming a little bit of content, and people were like, "Oh, you've done so much for us, and you've helped us through tough times, through lockdown. Your videos have put a smile on my face." I think that was the hardest thing for me to come to terms with, to be honest, about how people were saying I helped them, because I was like just trying to figure out how can me eating a burger or a kebab help you. But then when it happens more and more, and you start to talk to people and engage in their stories, then you start to realise, you know what, because you know, a lot of people just need happiness, just need laughter sometimes. If you're not getting it at home, if you're not getting it at your job, you know, the world can be quite a doom and gloom place. So, you know, sometimes we turn to social media, and I've done it where I look at people, I look at comedians, and I'll watch them on TikTok and what have you, and I find them funny, and it brings a bit of joy to you. So I think that's what it was for me. But I remember the first time I was in a shopping centre with my kids, and this young couple come up. They were, I think, about 19, 20-year-old, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're that guy off Rate My Takeaway." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." She says, "Can we have a picture?" I'm like, "If you want." "Yeah, no problem." And it felt awkward. And then I went through a phase of, it was like imposter syndrome or something like that, where I thought, well, why are people wanting to take photos, and why are they, you know, when I've seen stars, you know, I'm a big rugby league fan, so support Leeds Rhinos. So when I, you know, through COVID, I ended up going to most of the team's house delivering meat, and it was the best time of my life, because I'm meeting my idols, you know, and we chatted just before we started about Tell Johnny Kebab, you know, and you know, with Sean and Josh Warrington, I know them, and I think like with Josh as well, and this is true face, right? So Josh used to come down to the market, obviously when he first won his titles, and he'd come down and he used to show his titles off and stuff like that, and he used to come into butchers, and we'd make sure everything was right out in the market for him, and he'd go out there, and I always admired how humbling he was. Like, people would come up and it would be one after the other, "Can I have a photo, can I have a photo, can I have a photo?" And I used to think, this poor guy, he just wants to get from A to B and he's getting stopped. And I had a conversation with him, and he said, you know, the fans are what make you what you are. And that always sticks in my head. So when people come to me and ask for a photo, or, you know, or a bit of my time, a bit of a chat, I'll give that to them, because, you know, without people watching what I'm doing, you know, I wouldn't be where I am.
Does it ever go the other way though, Danny? Like, do you ever get sick of it? Like, is there ever scenarios where you're not in the right mood and you're just like, listen, I didn't
Do you know
really...
what? There's been one time, and it was when my daughter was born. So she was born a year ago. She just had her first birthday, and I were actually out reviewing at the time, and Sophie phoned me up, and she says, "Not to alarm you, but my waters have just broke. Not to alarm you." So I'm like, right. So I was in Bradford, about 40 minutes away. So I said to her, right, we were planning on having a home birth, in a water birth. So I got my 12-year-old son on phone. I said, well, he was 11 at the time. I says, right, fill that pool up, you know what to do, turn it on. She said to me she'd phoned hospital, and that they said, ring us back in 2 or 3 hours and we'll see how far you've dilated. 10 minutes later, my mum phones me and tells me, get home quick. She's had the baby.
She's had it?
She'd had it, and basically she'd started to be sick. And because of the wrenching, Athena just flew out, bungee jumped on cord. Nightmare. So obviously I got home, and as I got home, the ambulance were coming as well. Straight in the back of the ambulance. So there's blood everywhere, right? Ambulance doors open at the hospital. The wheels are out. She's got Athena in her arms. There's blood everywhere. I'm covered, got blood all over. And somebody comes running over. Rate My Takeaway. Can I have a photo? And I said, do you know what, pal? If you come tomorrow, I'll be here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Come see me. But right now, I'm in a bit of a sticky situation. And left it at that. And that's the only time I've really refused a picture. All the other times, you know, it's like I remember when the first date I went on with Sophie, and I said to her, and I must have sounded like a right idiot, I said to her, right, love, when we go in this restaurant, if people start asking me for a photo, I'm not going to ignore you, but just to let you know, I'll have one with them. And she's like, I could see her thinking, who's this big head? But
that's the reality, though, isn't it?
Sure as out, we got in there, bang, bum, bum. It took us about 15 minutes to get sat down because we didn't centre of Leeds. And people coming up for photos, the staff, the management, everything.
Did Sophie watch your content before she got with you? What's happening, guys? I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you are, please hit that like, hit the subscribe button, and press the notification bell so you don't miss another episode.
So no. And this is the funny thing. We met. She come to interview me. So she works for Yorkshire Post. So they said to her, "Can you go interview this guy? He's got some viral content out there, doing Rate My Takeaway." So obviously she did a little bit of research before she come to see.
But were you on the prowl anyway in your mind?
No. So I wasn't looking for a relationship, and sorry, there's people waving through the window. I was looking for a relationship, and what I said to Sophie was after the interview, I've got a radio show on a local radio station, so I said to her, "Do you want to come on?" And I thought, I'll turn it onto other foot, I'll interview her and I'll push her and ask her questions. So she did, and she come on the week after. And you know what, like both times, I just had this like gut feeling. I'm thinking, do you know what, I can talk to this lass. She's really, she's sound. And then after that, we were meeting up for a coffee. Because I don't drink, she don't drink. So I drink very rarely I drink. And we went out, we had a few coffees. I then went away with my kids for a couple of weeks, come back, went out for another coffee, and then I thought, do you know what? Something's going on here. So I asked her, says, is it more than friendship? And she says, I'm feeling the same. Went from there. So we had his first date in November. In December, I asked her to marry me. And then January, we found out she was pregnant with Athena. So then we got married in June.
Quick moving, mate.
September. Yeah, mate. Yeah, don't waste no time.
You didn't mess about, do you?
Don't waste no time.
How you mentioned like you've got to have balls in the social media game. How did you come up with having balls of steel? Like, what were you like when you were young at school and that? Were you a bit of one of them anyway? Like, you didn't care what people thought? Did you ever get bullied, picked on?
No.
I know. I did hear that you were a big lad when you were young and all.
Yeah.
Was that ever an issue?
Yeah. So, my weight sort of fluctuated through my life. To be honest, I've always, there are a few photos circulating out there where I look a bit like Rodney Trotter when I'm really thin, believe it or not. But most of the time I carry a bit of weight. And obviously growing up, I had all the, fatty and all this and all that kind of stuff. But I think what it was in my last year of junior school, I had an altercation with a lad. And he's calling me all these names, blah blah, and he got my bag and he threw it and it landed in some dog poo and I lost it and I had to go, and I don't condone it, but kids being kids, I give him a crack. He never did it again. But from that moment, then I thought to myself, do you know what? Don't get upset by it. Don't let it get you upset, because I don't think it was anger. I was more upset because it drove me to getting physical with somebody, even though I was 10, 11 year old. So I went for the rest of my life then, and I wasn't bothered. And what I always do is I try and turn it back on people.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes up to me and says, "Now then, you fat knacker," I go, "You what? Jesus, I'm going to have to get these mirrors wiped in my house, because when I looked this morning, mate, I was 2 stone through." You know what I mean? And then everybody in the room's laughing then at that, and then he's looking an idiot. So, I've always had that, and I get it now, online. I knew what I was signing up to. I do have my fair share of trolls. They come on and they're at me all the time, and people saying about my weight and this, that and other. But, when I do Rate My Takeaway, I've always been open and said that I don't eat all the food. So when it finishes recording, the food's done for me then. Even if it's the best meal I've ever had in my life, I won't carry on with it, because I know that I'm going to be eating quite a few bits. So I'm only sampling the food.
Yeah, of course.
But like we had a conversation before, and I was saying, I don't lie to myself and say I'm going to go to the gym, because I ain't going to go to the gym. Right? I signed up to a gym, but I signed up for jacuzzi, steam room and pool, and that's it. Our lass goes in doing weights and I go in for that, because that's me. I don't think people should lie to themselves. Some people are built for going to the gym. Some people have got that mindset. I ain't got the mindset, I'll tell you. And yet it is a choice. But
the thing is with you, Danny, like, and credit to you, mate, because I mean, you're a good bloke. You can tell that anyhow. I think anybody watching your content, or even meeting you, you're a lovely fella. And obviously, you seem very confident. And obviously, the things that you've had to kind of flip on the red to obviously to your advantage, you know, when you're saying about spinning things around and stuff.
yeah.
That's definitely an advantage. And I think there's a lot of people who are probably going to be overweight, right, who watch these type of things, but they haven't got your mindset. I was a lad. I was 18 stone once, and I was a lot bigger than what I am now. And I went down the whole gym route and all the rest of it. But I know that there's a lot of people who struggle with weight. Was being a bigger lad, because again, you've had successful relationships, did that ever hinder your confidence when you're meeting girls and that?
No, not really. So there's a funny story about this, right? So back in the day, you know, I'm out with my mates, we're in Barnsley and we're clubbing away, you know, we're in hedonism and we're all this. And I'm a big lad, right? Lasses, back then, if you were a big lad, you didn't have a chance. So I'm like thinking, what am I going to do here? What am I going to do? My mates are all there, all pumped up, buffed up, you know, looking good in tight shirts. I'm there with Johnny Ten Bellies. So I've been into magic since I was a kid. So I started taking out a deck of cards and I started performing little magic tricks.
Shut up, man.
Yeah. And what happened is I suddenly realised that if you can make people laugh, right, that's better than looking like having the body of a god. I mean, I have, it's Buddha, you know what I mean? That's what I say, but, you know, if you make people laugh, you're there, you're looking at it now, but yeah, you know, you make people laugh, you're halfway there, because, you know, all good relationships are built on trust, love, and humour. That's what I say. You know, if you can't make your other half laugh, then you've got no chance, because that's what you want. You know, you're compatible for a reason. And you know, by the end of a night, I'd have 10 lasses all sat giggling and chuckling round me. Oh, look, watch what he can do. And I'm like, yeah, come in, sit down with fat lad. And I'll say that, and I call myself that. I call it on Rate My Takeaway, I call myself fat lad. You know what I mean? Because it's got to a point where I can block it out. It doesn't bother me. So when people call at me now, it's water off a duck's back.
Did you ever think about taking it the other way, though? Like trying to lose weight and all that? Or was that not something you were...
Actually, back in, I think it was 2015, 2016, so my dad, and this is a funny bit of story for you, so my dad's actually a Slimming World consultant, believe it or not.
Shut up, man.
Yeah. So when he started, back then, he asked me to obviously join his Slimming World group as a bit of support, so I did. And then I went, and he says, just do us a favour, stick to the plan for a week and let's see how you get on. So I did, and I lost half a stone. And I thought, it's not been that bad. I've just had to give up a bit of bread and portion out my cheese. You know, see how I get on. So I did it, and I ended up losing, like, over 12 months, nearly 3 stone.
Bloody hell.
But I wasn't happy in myself. I don't know what it was, but, you know, be it slim, I mean, back then as well, I mean, I dropped down, and I dropped down to like 16, because I was a bit slimmer then as well. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy because I was used to being that fat jolly fella. And I'm looking in the mirror, and all of a sudden I could go and buy T-shirts from an high street shop, and I'm thinking, there's a good side to it, but I'm not happy. Not to say that, you know, I'll pile on loads of weight, you know, because I don't want to be massive, but, you know, I try and keep my weight at a steady. It does, you know, I'll have a point. I mean, I know I've put a little bit on over the summer, but hopefully by Christmas that, you know, I'll get a little bit off. And that's just a lifestyle, because, you know, I've had a couple of holidays, I've enjoyed myself, so I've got one more turkey chin.
But you've got to make, I'm assuming you've got to make a conscious effort, because obviously the job you're in now,
yes,
you know, I mean, anytime I've ever watched a video, I've gone, what's he doing with that food at the end? Surely he's scranning it, because that's what I'd be doing. I'll eat out, me, mate. So, like, it's one of them where, like, I would find that hard, because you're almost making a living off having food presented to you, so it's almost like it's leaning into that. What do you do with the food?
So if it's things like a pizza or chips, doner meat, stuff like that I can pick pieces out of, right? 9 times out of 10, the cameraman will have it. You know, he'll get fed. A lot of people moan and say you don't feed him, but he does. He'll have the food. If it's something like a burger, and I've had 3 or 4 bites out of it, I don't want to be giving him that. So there'll only be a couple of bites left. So, and because I've tried other stuff, I'm not. Believe it or not, my stomach's shrunk. So I used to be able to go to, out for a roast dinner, pile my plate up. I can't do that now because I'll have 6 or 7 mouthfuls and I'm full. So these guys will tell you in here when I'll go to Bobby's and I'll say, just do us 4 spring rolls, because I know if they do me 8, I won't be able to eat them because my stomach's shrunk a little bit. But the weight, because of obviously, like I said, I'm honest. I don't go exercising. It's not something. I don't get up in the morning and think, let's go for a jog. Do I? Heck, I get up in the morning and go sit in my swim spa and relax. You know what I mean? It's just not going to be something that I do. But I do make that conscious effort not to put, when I'm not reviewing, right, 9 times out of 10, I won't be eating. I don't eat takeaways when I'm not reviewing. I won't be eating, stuff that's going to be bad for me. So, I do like, believe it or not, things like, I joke about salad and say me 5 a day, I have it on a kebab. But, summertime, I love a good tuna salad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With a jacket tatty and stuff like that. But one of my favourite meals is a roast dinner. So I'll eat meat and tatties all day long with a bit of veg.
It's crazy to hear that, Like, I know it's judgmental, because when you look at, obviously, a big lad doing food reviews, you think straight away he's going to eat everything in sight.
Yeah.
But it's quite actually refreshing to say that that's not always the case. I want to dig a little bit into the kind of food reviews, right? Because I know plenty of people at restaurants, and there's other different types of people who do reviews and stuff. And what you notice, when someone does a food review on a restaurant, they'll get either a lot of business or bad business. Do you feel inclined to give good reviews? Because I know you always give positive reviews, even if I can tell by watching you, I didn't think you enjoyed that. And I noticed the review's quite high. Is that because you feel that you don't want to disrespect anyone's business? Everyone's trying to make a living.
No, not at all. I mean, I have given some howlers out, you know what I mean? I've given a place a 1 and then I upped it to a 2 because of Iron Brew. A couple that we filmed the other day.
Right.
There's a couple of low marks there. But I think what it is, because the way that we do the channel, so other food reviewers, that I've seen, they look for the best places. They look for places that are all right, or they'll just go to random places and they'll go off recommendations. We've always gone off recommendations. That's how the channel works. So like I said, when it was a Facebook page, people sending in pictures of the kebab and the pizza, and it's from this place.
Right, I see.
So we asked them, where should I go next? Where should I go?
So is that how you find your restaurant?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
right.
when we first started out, we'd have like 10 or 12 that we'd go to. Now we've got probably about 10,000 that we could choose from just by putting a YouTube comment finder. So if we're coming to Sunderland, for example, we'd just put YouTube comment finder, Sunderland, and then it'd bring up a load of takeaways and it'd bring up all the comments. So then if one of them's got 5 or 6, right, we'll have that, we'll go there. And that's how it does, because people are recommending it, and they're recommending it for a reason, usually because it's good. So when I first used to do it, I used to get, like everybody else, nobody knew who I was. I'd go in, they'd just see some weirdo sat outside with a phone, recording at a table and chair. Now people know who I am, so sometimes I will always say, just give me what, I'll say to everyone, just give me what you give everybody else. Because if if somebody goes in, we had it with one place once where they put a few extra bits in a munchbox, and I thought that's what it was for that price. And then when the fans then went, they were charged an extra tenner for these extra bits.
So although they think they're doing you a favour, it's actually bad for their business.
Yeah, they think they're doing the business a favour.
Yeah.
But then when customers are then turning up saying, well, that's not what you give Danny for 20 quid.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's going to do them in. Do you know what I mean? So it's not that, I feel obliged to give them a good review, because I don't. You know what I mean? I always go off service, looks, look of the place, look of the food, service of the staff. I think that's key as well when you're doing a review. When you go into a place, you want the staff to be engaging with you. If you go into a restaurant or a takeaway and somebody's like, "Hiya mate, how you doing? What would you like? Can I help you?" And you'll say, "Oh, what's best on menu?" And they go, "Well, today we've got this, this, and this." You're buzzing. If you go in and you say, "Hiya mate, what's best on menu?" "Oh, well, I don't know." Straight away, it won't you down. You're like, "Well, what shall I get then?" Your brain's thinking, "Well."
They must be really nervous when you walk in, like, because the power that you've got now in this industry. Do restaurant owners try and pay you to review them? Because for me, if I had a restaurant, I would want you to review it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so we've never accepted payment for any restaurant that we've done, any takeaway that we've done, and we pride ourselves on that, because I think if I accepted payment, then I'm obliged to give the best score ever. Some people have commented before saying that I might have looked over enthusiastic in a video, or he's got to have been paid for that. And that's not the case at all. It's just because that food is buzzing.
Yeah.
And I will tell you. And if you can see, like you said, sometimes you can see when I'm like, "Oh, this is amazing,"
you can tell.
and sometimes you can see. So it's like I did one yesterday, and give a bit of a spoiler. It was a mixed kebab, right? And the pieces of chicken, lamb, minced lamb, all looked perfect, cooked perfect. They all looked like they'd got a nice bit of spice into them. I had the bit of chicken, and it was doused in butter. Now I love butter, and I thought, all right. But then I moved on to the lamb, and the lamb was doused in butter. And then I had the mint, and that was doused in butter. So all I was tasting for the first few seconds of these bits of meat were butter, and it were overpowering. So the actual spices that were on the meat lost its flavour.
Right.
So I said that, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, a lot of the places we go to, because they're recommended, and people are recommending it because it's good, 9 times out of 10, they are that good.
Have you had the owners ever contact you afterwards and be like, "Oh, wait, mate, you could have given us a better review," or out like that?
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah. So
Has that happened a lot?
I had somebody who I give a 9 to, said that I absolutely wrecked the business. And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'll give you a 9. Obviously, because I give out a lot of 9s and 10s, obviously everybody strives for a 10. And I just said, the particular dish, I just felt was too heavy on chips rather than other things. And that's all it was. So I knocked that point off, because you were paying 25 quid for something, and there were a lot of chips in there, whereas there could have been other things in there, a little bit more of everything else, instead of just loads of chips. But sometimes, people, they don't like the criticism, and I understand that. And then there's, like you say, some places we've had people contact us, asked us to go down, they'll pay us X amount of money. It would be easy to do that. It would be easy for us to do that, but then it would, invalidate every other review that I've done.
Yeah, exactly. And then it'd be hard for people to fish out what's real and what's not, wouldn't it?
So like, even if, like we said, now if we change the structure and said, "Well, do you know what, let's do it now," for me it would invalidate everything that we've done and everything that we stand for. Like I said to you, with this place, the takeaways that's in here, in the Rate My Takeaway kitchen, they're all independent takeaways that I've reviewed before, that still only had one shop, or had branched out and got 3 or 4, but there was still independence. You've not got a big chain up here. You've not got, some of the big, don't want none of them up here, because they're big enough, they can go and build a £150,000 restaurant down the road. Yeah. What I want to do is fight for the little guys and find those little hidden gems. And that's what we're doing. If people were going to pay me loads of money to do that, it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be what we're about.
Would you class yourself as a food connoisseur now, or do you still get a bit of imposter syndrome?
No, not at all. I am not a food connoisseur.
Yeah, but if I watch a piece of your content, or someone goes, or Danny on Rate My Takeaway said this about this restaurant, I would just take your word for it and go, it must be all right if he said it is. Because sometimes you can look at a review, and I've looked at bad reviews, and I've been into restaurants, but the food's been banging.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's because some people complain about shite a lot of the time, don't they?
Sometimes as well, it's about, obviously, like when you've got a full business, right? You always want it to be perfect. You always want that food to go out. So, for example, if you're a street food truck and you own that business, you're going to have the owner of that business in there pouring his heart and soul into it. You're going to get that taco, and it's going to be the best one you've ever had in your life. because the guy that owns the business, it's putting, you know, food on the table for his family. So, you know, 9 times out of 10, he ain't going to make a mistake. But if you go to places that are run by staff, they've got a few of them, that's where mistakes happen, because they're just getting paid to do a job. They're getting told how to do something, they're getting paid, so mistakes will happen. So sometimes you might go home, and we've all been to a restaurant, a takeaway, and sometimes the food's not been as good as the last.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that happens, you might not go back. But, you know, for me, I think it's, when I'm doing it, I always say it's my opinion. And I always say that because somebody else might go and think it's great. So it's like I've done a few fish reviews where I've done like Scarborough and all that, and I've done, oysters and mussels and all that. I can't stand them. I absolutely hate it with a passion. But because it's my job, I will have a go. So I will tell you about the texture, the smell, the taste. I will say it's not my cup of tea, it tastes rank, but if you did like oysters, it smelt fresh, it didn't smell off.
Yeah.
So if you're an oyster lover, you'd probably like it. But for me, it's not my bag. But I'm not going to knock that down to a 2, because if it smells fresh and it looks good, right, just because I don't like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because I've tasted a few, and I've tasted one that's been absolutely rank, and I've tasted a few that have been all right. So, you know, I take all that into consideration. So I am trying to give the most positive review possible. But again, it's my, you know, it's like I don't like a lot of spice, but I have naga wings and all that kind of stuff, and it burns me inside out. But I'm doing it for the flavour, for the taste, to tell people. But I was there going, whoa, bloody hell, you know, I'll be doing all that. And
yeah, I suppose it's the only way to do a fair test, isn't it? By trying things you don't like, because then, although you don't like them, there's someone who's watching who will.
The only thing I don't eat is sweet corn.
Devil's food.
Devil's food.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want to talk about YouTube, Danny, and how it's changed your life, because obviously a lad, obviously working for a butcher's and all the rest of it, it's quite a different life, and obviously financially, your life's changed. I mean, I know a bit about the YouTube scene and people making X amount of money in X, Y, and Z, but obviously this has took you around the world. It has completely changed your life. What has it been like in terms of financial? Obviously, you don't have to mention what you make and all that, but in terms of like, what is YouTube being able to give you in life?
Yeah. I mean, I think, first of all, it's like there's a lot of confusion out there. People think that it's my channel, I own the channel, and I pay the cameraman and the editor. But it's not. It's all 3 of us together. So we all earn the same amount of money. So what any money is generated, we share that equally between ourselves. So it's a bit like a band. I'm the front man, and they're on the drums and the guitar. You know, without one of us being there, it won't work, because we all have our own little jobs, what we do to make it work. Financially, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I'm better off than I was, you know, working as a, you know, at the butchers. I was working, you know, 40, 50 hours a week, and, you know, now I don't necessarily do that hands-on job like that, but it does take up a lot of my time being on social media. A lot of people think it's just easy and you sit down and eat a bit of food, but, you know, I made a comment on I don't know if it was on my radio show or on a YouTube video, and I said I work 24/7, and somebody made a comment saying, how can you work 24/7? You need time to sleep. And it's like, what I meant by that is the moment I wake up to the moment I close my eyes, if I'm not on the phone to somebody, I'm on an email, I'm on, you know, checking TikToks, Instagram, you know, doing all this, and it does take over your life.
But even through your sleep, you think of new ideas, new areas, new places to go, comments, social media management, you've got a life. It's still all graft.
And then like we said earlier on, when I go out, you know, it's not as, I can't just, you know, go out and, you know, go onto the beach and whip my top off, because who's going to be taking photos? You know what I mean? You've got to, all things are just completely changes in your life. But financially, it's enabled me to, you know, be financially secure for me and my family. You know, it's enabled me to be a bit more financially adventurous with, obviously, the Rate My Takeaway kitchen, LDC radio, become a director of that. So, I mean, a lot of people, you know, you go on and you see YouTube videos, and it'll say, how much does Rate My Takeaway earn? And they come up with some ludicrous figures. And then, you know, there's all these net worth and all this. How they come up with this, I don't know, because there's about 15 of them. I think the last one were 22 million our worth, one were 15. And I'm thinking, if I got 15 quid, I'd be happy.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, again, going back to the question of charging people. So a lot of people have offered money for all different things. So we've been offered a lot of money for advertising, for me to be brand ambassador for products. You don't see me doing that.
Yeah, of course.
Right? I've not done that.
You're not even sponsored, are you?
Up until this year.
Right, I was going.
So in January we took a sponsor on for Rate My Takeaway, and that was Establo. So I've just got the name on my shirt, the name on the van, and the logo on the table. And it's, you know, I don't mention it because it's not so much as a sponsorship, it's more of a collaboration where he's helping us to get to different places and different things. So, you know, obviously, you know, we have to provide for his families, but then doing trips to Turkey and stuff costs money.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and you live to your means as well, a lot of people. So, you know, that's what he's come on board for. He's a friend of mine, and he's a decent businessman. He owns quite a few different businesses. And it was him that approached me about it. And we had a bit of a chat. And I said, you know what? Because it's not directly linked to a takeaway, I'm not biased. So I went with it, and then obviously with the Rate My Takeaway kitchen, as you can see, I've done a deal with Just Eat. So I contacted all the big delivery platforms, told them what we were doing here, and said I want a deal that's going to be best for the vendors, and we'll sign with you. And Just Eat come back with that. So I'm advertising Just Eat for the Rate My Takeaway kitchen. The only other sort of sponsorship we've had with when we did the American tour, a company called Parliament. So I was doing a review, flying past Barnsley football ground, and I just made a flyaway comment saying, if those lads don't sort this ends out, I'm going to be in the dressing room and showing them how to play football. Next day I get a phone call from Barnsley Football Club to say one of our sponsors wants to have a word. I'm thinking, oh damn, what have you done now? And it gets on the phone to this guy, and he's like, hey, my name's Phil, I'm a Barnsley lad, but I live in LA. I've lived out here for 20 years, and I've got this this company that does visual effects, special effects. He says, I'd love to help you out. So I says, well, as it happens, we're looking at coming out to US to do a bit of a tour. He says, well, I'll sort your trip out for you, don't worry. So that's what he did.
Brilliant.
So I put him on my shirt, and again, it wasn't, you know, he didn't dictate what we did, where we went, because that's the difference. When people sponsor you, they dictate what you do. So there's a difference between sponsorship and then somebody being involved with you and helping you to get other places. So that's really sort of the only ones that we've had, and again, that's something else that we sort of pride ourselves on, because we've not sold out to, you know, advertising as such, and people, you know, wanting to jump on our brand to grow their brand.
I think the fact that you haven't done that strengthens your brand, though, because you haven't sold yourself out. You know what I mean? A bit of a direct question: will or will Rate My Takeaway make you a millionaire?
Not at the minute.
Is that the goal? Because
I think that's everybody's goal, isn't it?
See,
everybody dreams of being a millionaire.
You're clearly an entrepreneur, right? Do you think you've always been one?
I've had a few businesses in my time. You know, I've had, like I said before, I'm like a bit of magic. I had a bit of a magic shop once for 2 years. Loved it, absolutely loved it. But then it got to a point where I was selling the same trick week in, week out, and it became more of a job than a passion. So I put that on the back burner. Before doing Rate My Takeaway, I worked as a butcher, but I also become self-employed as a food hygiene consultant. So I saw a niche in the market where food businesses were struggling to reach a 5-star hygiene rating. So I researched on why they're doing that and realised a lot of it were down to paperwork. So I put a pack together to help people do this, and I went out and I did a little successful business with that. But obviously COVID hit, and that went, and that business went, and then a lot of the businesses that I had signed on wasn't able to recover from that. But then by that time I then started with Rate My Takeaway. So I think, you know, I'm always looking at, I'll never be somebody that sits down. A lot of, you know, people look at me and think, oh, he's a fat slob, he'll just be sat at home. People will tell you, I am out and about I get up every day. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Right, I get up, get washed, go downstairs. I get in my swim spa, sit there, and I have an hour to myself. All right, and I just think about, right, what is going on today? What am I going to achieve today? How am I going to achieve it? And it's my little bit of peaceful time to sort of plan a path on what I'm going to do. Now, if that goes to plan, which it never really does, because, you know, when you've got kids at home and, you know, other people in your life, you're like, oh, my days, you know, it never goes to plan, does it? And, you know, social media can always throw a little bit of a blip at you.
I was going to say you're a hustler, like.
Yeah,
you are a hustler, aren't you?
Yeah. But that's, I think, you know, working on the market, you know, obviously doing the magic, and it's all about illusions, and, you know, you've got to be like that in life. But also, I'm a big believer in, if you give back, right, you're going to get it back twofold to yourself. I really believe in that. And I think, you know, if you're happy in life and you spread that happiness, then people are going to give it to you. And I think with me, that's what it's sort of been like, you know, people, I can go into a room and I can sit down, I can have a chat with people, and I can put them at ease, and I can be confident about what I'm doing. As long as I know what the situation is, I can go in there. So I could walk into, possibly I could walk into a board meeting with some of the biggest investment bankers in the UK, and I could probably within half an hour have them wrapped around my finger.
You've got that, like,
Do you know what I mean?
There's a thing you've got, like, that's hard to put your finger on.
But it's doing it in the right way, and it's like, you know, people will tell you, sometimes people say I'm too kind as well, and, you know, I give a lot away, and, you know, I do a lot for people, I do a lot, you know, me and the Rate My Takeaway lads, we do a lot for charities, and we don't shout out about it, we don't tell people about it, you know, we support kids, rugby clubs, football, young lass at motocross.
Well, I think that's part and parcel of charity, isn't it? Like, I feel like once, because you see videos, don't you, people handing money out to people, and it's like, that's defeats the object to kind of to go down that route. But with you, like, I mean, mate, for the content PT business, mate, I'm doing 1,000 miles a week. I know what it's like. So when I'm doing all this video work, I know it's flat out. For you, mate, I would hate to think of you a mileage, but what's it like? Are you hard to live with?
Me?
Aye. Because I can imagine when you get in from a long day on the road, you're doing these reviews, you got comments coming in, engagement, YouTube videos going up on the phone, Reddit, looking for your neck. Where's your missus in all this? And you've got kids in that? How many kids you got, by the way?
Yeah, so at home, we've got 5 kids at home now.
You got 5 kids?
Yeah.
Hell, mate. Now you have 5 kids?
Yeah, and to be honest, so my wife Sophie, she's absolutely amazing. So we've only been together a few years, and she supports me 110%. Luckily, she's been in the social media game. She's in the social media game. She does a bit of sales. She's a journalist, so she knows that kind of stuff. She's also, you know, she's been on Britain's Got Talent. She did, you know, I think it was on the first series. She got to, like, if I get this wrong now, she's going to kill me. But I think semi-final, belly dancing.
Bloody hell.
You know what I mean? So she's had that bit of fame as well, and, you know, so we're all over. So, like, for me, she's really supportive. She knows that, you know, I'm super focused. She knows that, you know, I'm quite driven in stuff that I want to do. And she'll support me in that, and she's really good. And you know, the rest of the family, you know, my family, and I think that's it, you know, when you've got good family and friends around you, right, you can succeed. And social media brings out the people who really care about you. Because obviously, when I first started going viral, I had people contacting me that I've not spoken to for 20 years. You know, I was at school with them. And, you know, my school mates, I've kept in contact with them. We've always kept in contact. You know, my best mates, but there's some of them who have, you know, we left school, never spoke to them. Can you come down to my local pub and do a quiz night? Why? Well, we used to go to school together. I told everyone, right? But you've not spoke to me for 20 years.
How does it make you feel when they come out of the woodwork?
And it's like, if I could help everyone, believe me, I would. But then there's got to be a point where I've got to cut off because I need to spend time with my family.
Which has got to be priority.
Yeah.
Got to be priority, mate.
So, you know, for me, opening the Rate My Takeaway kitchen, hopefully this is going to be the first of many. That's the plan. I'd love to take these to America, Australia, you know, get 15 of these up and down country. That's what we'd love to do. But that's contingent on, you know, me still doing what I'm doing to keep the Rate My Takeaway brand going, and then for people, you know, wherever these are, will then buy into this and then come along.
I'm sure you will, look, mate. You've grown at an incredible rate. Like, what do you know? Do you know how many subs in that you get a month?
I don't know a month.
Doing a few thousand a month now, aren't you?
Yeah. But obviously, it's like because we never really. So we were on Facebook. Then when we went on to TikTok and that grew, we've spent the last sort of 3 years concentrating on that. It's only really been the last probably 3 months we've now started looking at TikTok and Instagram, because that's just, again, we've never paid for an advert. We've never done any paid promotion whatsoever on our channel. It's all been organic.
Unbelievable.
So we've never paid for anything. And again, that's something like with the other two lads, the editor and the cameraman, they pride themselves on that because they run that side of it. So they're confident in the fact that they can do that. And that organically they can drive people to our content and people will like it then once they're there. So I just, I'm fortunate enough that with the team that I've got and, my family around me, that they accommodate for me to be the crazy person that I am. And it's like I will sit there with Sophie and my mum and dad, and I will say, and even with lads from Rate My Takeaway, and I'll say, do you know what, boys, I've had this idea, and they all go, oh God, what is it now? And I'll come out with it, and they'll go, oh, it's not too bad. Even with radio, lads at radio, they've become really good personal friends of mine now. And I'll say, I've got this idea, and they go, right, let's have it, what are we having? And then they'll go, oh yeah, well, we can see where that's going. Because the problem is with me, sometimes if I commit to it, I want to get on it.
Yeah, of course.
I want to do it.
Do it fully on.
And it's like, because if I believe it's going to work, then I'm not looking at, a lot of people will look, right, well, what are we going to do to make it work? I start looking at what's going to make it fail. Because if I take that out, it's going to work. If I take things that I think are going to make it fail, if I take them away...
Mate, where'd you get that mindset from?
I don't know. I think it's just like my mum and dad, brought me up. We had a fish and chip shop. They both worked a couple of jobs as well. So they'd run the fish and chip shop through the day. Then they'd go out working and they'd come back and they'd be in the fish and chip shop in the evening and then they'd be out. And, when I was growing up, things were tough. They were scraping for pennies. But they did it. And they have this never give up attitude, and I think that's what it is. And it's like, to this day, I've never really had mum and dad argue. You know what I mean? My dad's just done that fun, I think, to be honest. But but they never argued. If they had out to say, they'd say it away from me and my brother. When I was 10, they become foster carers, and they only give up 2 years ago.
Right.
And they've been fostering kids all that time, and for them to give up that. Their life really, to look after people less fortunate. I think growing up, it puts things into perspective for me. So I look at things and think, right, nobody wants to fail at anything, but we need to fail to succeed. So I'm going to stop failing before it fails, and then I'm going to succeed and just try and do it like that.
Yeah, because they say, it's like, I know in sales, I'm from a sales background, and I know that they often say in sales, like, if someone told you the 100th door you knock on is going to be a yes, how quick would you get through the 99? And it's exactly the same thing. The more you try, keep trying, you can't actually fail. Like, because you have to succeed at some point. Some people just take longer than others. That's all it is. People are at different chapters in life. And obviously, the mental resilience that you've had to sort of build up over the years to get you to this point, there's no reason you would fail. There's no reason you won't become a millionaire by doing this. There's no reason you won't have all these takeaways up the Rate My Takeaway food courts up and down the country. I genuinely believe you'll do that as well. And I feel like I've spoken to quite a few people who've become very successful in their avenue, and they've got a very similar mindset. I think it's a mindset that you need. I want to mention, I seen an article. I know you lost a previous partner, didn't you, Danny? I hope you don't mind us asking you this, but I feel like the reason I'm asking you this right now, because I was humming and hawing whether to bring it up, because I feel like it displays your mental fortitude and where you're at, and I feel like that will contribute massively to why you do the things you do and keep going and graphing. Because I know off camera, I know this is hard. Yeah. Doing a YouTube channel's hard. Doing a podcast's hard. Running a business, it's hard anyhow. So I feel like there's things that you've had to battle to obviously make you overcome them hard days. Can you talk about that, and how was that? How did you adapt to that scenario?
So, It's difficult because I'm at a different part of my life now. So when Carrie first passed away, obviously I told people what happened and how things happened, but it wasn't to the full extent. What a lot of people don't know is there a lot of issues going on as well. So this is the first.
Right. Sorry,
Yeah. And basically I kept a lot of the issues at bay just to protect my kids. So Carrie, she struggled for all different reasons. And there's a lot that people don't know, which at this moment in time I can't really go into because it involves my kids as well.
Of course, mate.
But what I did when that happened, I was in a mindset of, what do I do? I got 3 kids at home at the time, and the world just exploded for them. And I remember, I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks in, and all of a sudden something just clicked in my head, and I thought, right, I've got to just show the kids that there is life, that bad things happen, but you can still enjoy life, be good. And that's what I've tried to do. And with Summer and George, it's been difficult for them, really difficult for them. And like, obviously when I met Sophie, a lot of people said I was disrespecting Carrie's memory. But again, there's a lot of things that people don't know that I've not shared, which later on I will. But at this moment in time, my focus and now and then was the kids and getting them through the most traumatic thing that they're ever going to live through. And like I say, I'm fortunate enough now with Sophie to have somebody that not just cares for me, that cares for the kids. And we've got a nice family now with Summer and George and Sophie's kids, Harry and Jazz, and then we've got Athena together. So linking us all in together, we're able to grow and progress. But a lot of people used to message me and say, how did you get through those days? And again, going back to when I said about wanting to stop things not working, I used to go to bed of a night time and think to myself, oh, this is horrible, what am I going to do? And then I decided, right, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to be the best I can be, do the best I can do. Life's going to chuck all sorts at me, but if I can go to bed and think, do you know what, I ain't done that bad, I'll be alright. And I do that every day. I've done that every day for the past 3.5 years. I go to bed every night thinking I ain't done too bad today, because no matter what happens, there's ups and downs. People are going to be trying to trip you up at every avenue. People are going to be talking about all different things, trying to mix things up, do all sorts of stuff. Family is the most important thing, and as long as you've got your family around and your friends, and as long as you can go to bed at night and think, do you know what, I've done the best for them, which is what I try to do, that's what I do. But yeah, it was a trying time, and I've suffered, I'll be honest, I've suffered mentally quite a bit. I've not really opened up about it much, but I will be. Me and Sophie did a mental health podcast together. We did a few episodes together, and we talked about how we both suffered mentally with different things and how we, got through them and what coping strategies we used. I'm looking next year to work with a few guys at setting up as our mental health charity, but not just for men, for women and kids as well, because it's my kids have struggled in this situation, and no matter how famous you are, no matter how much money you bring in, mentally it means nothing. Because sometimes your own worst demon is yourself.
Do you think that's the lowest point you've had in your life?
No.
Really?
No, it's not. It was low, but the lowest point of my life was probably, and again, I'm just because I like to be honest. So you've got me on fly here. Well, probably about 6 months ago.
Really?
Yeah, and I just I had a few health complications with myself, which I've not spoke to people about. That led to me mentally then doubting, have I made right decisions for my kids? Have I gone down the right path? Have I done this? And I needed support for that. And I got the support from my family, friends, but I went to the doctors and I seeked out the support. And I'll continue to do that. And to this day, I still have up and down days. Whenever I turn that camera on, I'm smiling and I'm happy because I'm happy doing that. But then I can leave that situation sometimes and I feel like I'm broken. And I think, everybody's like that. So, what I say is don't always judge people and look at somebody and think just because they've got a smile on their face, everything's all right, or just because they're a YouTuber or whatever they're doing, if they're a doctor, a nurse, if they're a banker, we all have issues in life and, we're not invincible.
I appreciate that, mate, saying that, because I think as well, like, this is why, again, the podcast has been absolutely perfect, because when I get to hear these stories, so even when I've seen your content, right, the bits of stuff, even on social media, not even the YouTube stuff, I always think, what's he like when that camera's off?
Yeah.
Like, I even think, what are you in the video, your cameraman, what are you talking about? Like, do you ever actually have a bit banter about, like, that restaurant or that burger or something that happened?
Yeah, we have banter, and we have arguments, like anyone. Nice. Because, I think when you've got, because, me and the cameraman, we're two quite strong-willed people as well. So sometimes, we can have a little differences. The editor is a bit more mellow. He's like, yeah, just chill, man. We'll just do this. but we have a lot of banter. We laugh, and it's like it went from working with people, recording, to doing it with your friends. So I found that to be really, really good. When we did the American tour, for example, it was like being on holiday with two of my mates, and in between we're filming, having food, and then we sat around pool. And I remember we were in LA. It was absolutely blistering sunshine. A toad editor goes over to 7-Eleven, comes back with a crate of bud. So we're all having a few beers, but he'd forgot to put his suntan lotion on. So the next day we're red as a lobster and he couldn't move for 3 days. We went to Vegas and he's like, I'm not coming outside. But it was funny and it were memories. So yeah, it's good, but mentally it's draining. It can be draining, right. but like any job's draining. Do you know what I mean? And but yeah, for me, it's I've had tough times, and when Carrie passed away and the kids lost their mum, it was difficult and it was hard. I'm not going to lie, but then other things that had happened previous to that and different situations that I was just bottling up.
It's so because obviously I've got a little one as well, and like that scenario, I can't even when you told us, my ideas on the back of my neck, it's horrible. And obviously I hope you go through nothing like that ever again, mate, because I think that has got to be every man's worst nightmare, because you've got the kids, the mother and all that in the mix, and then I understand the whole, like, when you move on and you because you've got to have a future, you've got to move on, but I get you're going to get judged, you're becoming famous now, people know you, they're going to think...
With Sophie, you see, like I said, I had that interview with her and I had no intention. All my focus was rate my takeaway and providing the best life possible for my kids. That was it. I thought, I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. That is it. I'll And then all of a sudden, I just started to get these feelings, and I was like, whoa, yeah. Do you know what? I didn't realise I could feel like this. You know what I mean? And then with Sophie, it's completely different to any other relationship that I've had.
Of course.
And the situation that I were in was horrible, and I won't wish it on anyone, because it was horrible. But now I'm in a place where I'm happy again, and my kids, they're never going to be the same to the respect that they've not got their mum. But I like to think that I'm doing the best job that I possibly could ever do. I ain't going to lie and say that it were easy when we first got together, because obviously there was resentment there from the kids, which I understand. But we talked through it as a family. We talked through it together. Now they all get on fabulous, and it's great. and I couldn't wish for anything. I can go away now filming and know that the kids are being looked after 110% and that they're having the time of their life. And to be honest, it's me that gets neglected now because they're all, they all gang up on me, and I get home and find out they're all off on a London trip, and I'm like, well, what about me? Well, you're out filming, so it don't matter, you're not coming. And I'm like, all right then, fair enough.
Well, that's why I think, honestly, like, I really appreciate you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people draw strength from that, mate, because I know for a fact, I know people personally who are going through really tough times, and I know even that in itself, like, you've been through one of the most catastrophic scenarios that a man can go through, and worse later in life, yet you've come out the other side, you're doing well, you're spreading a positive message, you're putting a smile on, even when probably behind that sometimes it can be horrible.
I mean, there will come a time when I will sit down and tell the
you don't even need to, do you? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes...
Well, it's like, I think obviously the problem is because I'm in social media, in the limelight, people expect certain things of you and expect you to behave in a certain way. For example, I went to Turkey, right, for a holiday, me, Alice and kids, and I'm in Paul, and this guy comes swimming up, and he's like, "You all right, mate?" He says, "You're that guy, aren't you?" I'm like, yeah. He says, "Well, what are you doing here?" I says, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I didn't think you'd be here. I thought you'd be in Dubai or something like that." I said, "Mate, this is a 5-star, all-inclusive." I says, "Cheap as chips." I said, "I've got this on the beach. What a deal." I says, "I'm not wasting money." And they expected me to be in a hotel down the road that's like 10 grand for a week, and I've paid 3 grand like everybody else. And I'm like, I'm just still the normal person. I'm not gonna, just because people know who I am, that doesn't mean that I'm then going to fall into this, I am this person and I've got to spend this amount of money.
Do you prefer it? If you're honest with yourself, do you prefer being well known? If you could have YouTube, right, have all the success, still do what you do, but no one notices you when they walk past, would you prefer that?
That's a difficult question because I like to talk to people. That's the thing. So even before the YouTube, when I worked at the butchers, I'd be stood talking to people. I'd be out trying to get a deal. I'd be stood at the front on microphone. "Come on, guys, 4 pork steaks. 4
I can imagine
sirloins,
what
10
you'd be
quid."
like.
You know what I mean? I'd be like, "Hey up, sweetheart, you're beautiful, you love. Come over here. You're better looking in like." Like before you know it, you're confusing them and they're buying 4 steaks for a tenner. So it's like it's a difficult one because I enjoy talking. It's like I think like. When I think like, obviously back to my holiday in Turkey, we went out and I was in Paul and people were talking. If I hadn't been where I am, I'd just be sat probably listening to, a bit of music or watching myself or somebody like me. Do you know what I mean? And not interacting with people. So I think I probably would miss it. The answer to the question is because, I'm that kind of person where I like to talk and I'm not afraid of talking and I'll have a conversation with anyone.
I get what you're saying. It's funny you say that, because it's like, when you said that about being on the market, I can just imagine exactly what you would have been like. And I think, again, that's what you need. You need transparency on YouTube. Yeah. You need to be yourself, and clearly that's going to help contribute to why you're successful anyhow.
I'm cheeky as well. This is the thing. This is like that's a side of me that you don't see on Rate My Takeaway, because obviously I know that, the audience is from 2-year-old up to 85. So, I don't swear. I have a little bit of banter now and again. But then the other side of me, like when I worked on a market still, you know what I mean? I was at it, mate. At Christmas time, I got foam machine going, squirting bubbles in people's faces as they walk past and loving life.
How do you... Sometimes, like on some of the videos I've watched, right, and I haven't seen all your videos, but on some of the videos I've watched, right, there was a one I watched, can't remember where it was, mate, but this lass had took some food off your plate.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did you not say no? Like, how did you keep your cool there? Like, are you actually pissed off inside, or are you actually not bothered?
I'm not bothered.
If someone puts their hand on my food, who I don't know, mate, I can't even eat the food.
Yeah,
I literally would struggle to eat the food.
I understand that, right? And that's your mentality. That's you. If you look, I'm like, I'll hold it, love. You cut it. So I'm making sure she's not touching it. She's just touching that wooden knife and all that kind of stuff. Because if she'd have touched it, I wouldn't have ate it. But then saying that, people are always commenting saying you've just shook his hand and then you're grabbing a burger. I'm like, yeah, at the end of the day.
Is there anything that happens that you cut out the episodes?
Swearing.
So do you actually swear sometimes?
No, not me.
Oh, right.
I'll get people come past swearing.
What about any dodginess that's gone on? Like anyone trying to fight or be a...
No, I mean, there were one in Derby where somebody come and he took something on the floor. So I pulled him on it and we left it in. I pulled him on it. I said, here mate, come on. I says, don't be doing that. So he picked it up. I went, oh yeah, and then threw it across the road. And I went, mate, you know, what example is that setting for people? Because, you know, I don't like people that are just disrespectful. I hate bullies.
Have you had any abuse or out on the videos?
Yeah. I've had a couple of, you know, where people have had a go or they've said something. But then I just cut it out. Because they
what do you do at the time? Like, do you retaliate and cut that out, or do you just not retaliate anyway?
I just go, all right, no worries, pal. It's not for everyone. Because I find, like I said, you know, if you put it back on them, if somebody's having a go at you, they know what you're doing, they know where you are, they know what you're doing, so they're doing it for two reasons. They want to be on your video, or they're filming for their own content. So if I jumped up and started carrying on back,
you're on someone else's.
So if I just go, so if you're shouting at me saying, you bloody fat idiot, and I just go to you, all right, pal, I've got a minute at home, I'll check it when I get home. All right, mate, no worries, go home. Yeah, there's no need for this, mate, there's no need. Calm yourself down, fella. Like... You've had a few to drink tonight, go chill out. In fact, when I've had this, we'll have a chat afterwards. And that then, they usually just walk off. You know what I mean?
Well, you didn't want someone like you saying that, you know what
I mean? But I have, way back, in the beginning, somebody did have a go, but they didn't have a go at me. They were having a go at my kids. And the idiot lived in the next village on. Mm-hmm. So it didn't take a rocket scientist to find out where it was.
Oh, yeah.
Worked in a car garage. So I went down and I went in. I went, you're right, pal. He started shaking. And I said, I've not come here to pick a fight. I've just come here to see why you're having a go at kids. Oh, mate, it's only banter. I says, but my kids are watching this. My kids, I says, you can have a go at me as much as you want and call me all names you want. I says, but let's not bring innocent children into this.
Yeah, I get that, like.
Well, why don't you just say something on video? I said, because that's what you want in a retaliation. I says, but I know you were down here. All his mates in garage, then, you're a disgrace. You're a disgrace to him.
Oh, exactly. See,
do you know what I mean? Because when people are behind a screen and they can't see you, it's easy for them to tip-tap and say stuff and do stuff and send messages. But when they're actually face-to-face with you, again, it's not about being aggressive and carrying on. It's just about laying the facts down. You're actually picking on kids here.
See, do you know what I think's mad, mate? I think when I watch anything like that, what I've noticed is a lot of people will come up to you for photos, right? But sometimes I see some of them as disrespectful, you know. Like, I don't know if it's just me, my perception, but I think, hang on, you haven't stopped to say, are you all right? How are you doing? You just like, can I get a photo? And they don't even talk to you. Some of them are just and walk off. Do you never get bothered by that? I think that would do my head in if people
again, I think it goes back to because I know that these guys are watching me. So without people watching, I won't be able to continue doing what I'm doing. So I've got respect for that. And, you know, again, it's me sort of coming to terms with the fact, like I said about when I used to see the rugby players, I'd be like, whoa, hey, pal, how you doing? Whoa, can I have a photo? And all this. I go away buzzing. I'd be like, look, I've just seen Reece Martin here, blah, 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 and all this. So people are doing that about me. So although it boggles my mind still, because it still does, I think, why do you want a picture of this fat bloke eating a kebab? What is going on in your life?
If you don't know by now, I run a business called The Content PT. I create content for influencers, PTs, online coaches and fitness brands all around the world. So if you are someone who's in need for sexy content for your social media, or you really want to maintain a competitive edge in your industry, drop me a DM on Instagram. So Danny, I want to ask you about the cameraman.
Yeah.
What's the reason that you keep him off camera? Because a lot of people in public will already know what he looks
he's
like.
Ugly, mate.
So is that a him thing, or is it the mystique of the channel?
No, so
because I'm desperate to see what he looks like.
Yeah. Well, he has walked past once. I'll give you that. Yeah. So, so basically, when we first talked about this, so the cameraman and the editor never wanted to be in an episode. That was something that they said that they were never bothered. Else they would have done it themselves because they built the page up, but they just didn't feel like they wanted to be on camera, which is fine. I understand that. And then I just started saying, yeah, cameraman, come here, cameraman, this, and then told editors doing this, and it just picked up. And so people then started commenting, oh, well, editor, because the editor he'll upload a video, but he'll premiere it, or every YouTube video premieres it. So some people still think that that's live. And I'm eating breakfast and it's 6 o'clock at night and it's pitch black and they're like, oh, what's going on here? So he'll deal with all the comments. And then obviously with a cameraman, I'm like, cameraman this, cameraman that. So people just started going, oh, what's going on? Then it become a, who is the cameraman? And then there were like groups set up. Have you seen the cameraman? What is it like? And then I did an interview at one show and they were like, and who's the cameraman? I'm like, well, you know. So then I'm like, well, he's bigger than me. That's why I don't want to be on camera or this.
So he's one for you, right?
Yeah.
Someone had, well, I don't know anyone who's seen him, but someone had saw the cameraman or on a video or something like that, and they reckon he looks like me. Right. That's why I want to know. Because he could be not like me, he might look similar. And that's why I want to know. He goes, I saw him in a reflection, he looked like you. And I thought, I need to see this.
So they thought it were you?
Well, they didn't know.
Yeah,
So
well,
they asked
that's
us,
it,
like,
we've let it out, he's the cameraman.
So I was like, it's one of them.
Yeah,
so
well,
I'm
after this
to
I
see.
will introduce him to you.
Perfect, exclusive.
But yeah, so it's like it's sort of become a bit of a mystery thing now, and we said that as soon as we get to 1 million subscribers on YouTube, I'll do a cameraman reveal. So we're chipping away there. I think we've got 730,000 now, so it's chipping away at it.
Danny, I know that obviously the success of everything that's happened in that, and just see you going from strength to strength, and it's mint to watch, mate. It's class to see that journey unfold. What would you say is your biggest treat to yourself? I know you like your trainers, didn't you? I've noticed you like your trainers. What would you say your biggest...
Got my Crocs on today.
What would you say is your biggest treat?
Trainers.
Trainers. Yeah, is that what it is? Is that what you spend your money on?
Yeah, I do. Do you know what? I don't buy that many. I've got a few pairs. It's usually gifts. Like if people say, I want to buy you a gift, I'll say, oh, trainers. I think my biggest gift to myself, and I'm not lying here, I'm not being an idiot, it's just the happiness of my family.
Aye.
I love going away, spending time, seeing the smile on my family's face. And it's like, you know, as you get older in life, comes to Christmas and you're sick of getting socks and chocolates. And I'm like, look, just don't spend it on me, just buy kids something. You know, get something for kids. And that's it. But I think as well, you know, treat-wise, if I'm going out for a meal, it's a roast, mate. I love,
is that what your main meal is?
My favourite meal is a roast dinner. Yeah, I love roast dinner and I love rib of beef, like a beef rib for my dinner.
Do you like just average roast, like from a carvery or something? Or do you go to a proper place? We don't have to mention any name, just...
Yeah. I like the lot, so I'll go to the average, you know, one that everybody goes to.
Aye, cool.
And then, you know, I do like some other places, but if I'm honest, I just like a home-cooked roast. I prefer that, and I'll go to a butcher's, I'll get a ribeye joint, a beef, cook that. I like cooking it myself, and Sophie's vegan, but she will still cook it for me as well sometimes. And then I'll have mashed roasters, I'll have Yorkshire pudding, stuffing, and then I'll have like broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, peas, gravy. Oh, bit of mint sauce. I'm going for it now.
Is there any episodes you haven't aired? Like for reasons that you think, I don't want to put that out?
There's a couple that we haven't aired, and that's because of file corruption. I'm sure you've come across that at some point in your time. You know, I remember we did a cafe in, I think it was Coventry, and it was banging. And then we got back, and then half of it were missing. And then we've had a couple of times when because we use the Rode mics, and we used to use the lavalier mic on that. And over time, the wire used to crackle, and so then we couldn't use it for whatever reason. So I think probably, off the top of my head, probably 3 or 4 that we've not used specifically just because of audio issues. And then I remember, so I did one place, and it cost a lot of money to buy the food, and I did it, and then I went back because the food were that good, and I did it again. And the second time back, the food were even better.
So I was going to say, do you is any of these places you review, you actually go in your spare time when you're not reviewing?
Yeah, so Abdul's, he was the 4th ever review that I did. Abdul's.
Is that in Wakefield?
Yeah. Right. And he's become a very close friend of mine now. So
right.
We talk regularly.
Right.
And he's like, never insult me by paying And I'm like, look, and I try to pay all the time, and I'm like giving it to other staff, or I've even tried to send somebody else in, and then I've like posted, I've got Abdul, and he's knocking on my door. No, disrespect me by doing this. But yeah, so like him, and then some of these guys that's in here, the reason why they're in here is because when I reviewed them, I then used to go.
Right, I see.
You know, if I had a takeaway with a family, I used to go to some of these. So yeah, it's you know, it's the best job in the world.
So I guess the question is, what is Danny Malin eating when he's not reviewing takeaways?
Roast dinners, toast.
Do you get takeaways, by the way? Do you ever get your own take? Like,
Yeah,
do you have a local takeaway?
So sometimes, if I have a takeaway, it's usually on a Saturday night. And it'll usually be in Abdul's, or there's a couple of other places that I go to. But most of the time, I'll have, like I say, I love beef rib, I love pork loin, so I'll have roast dinners. I like toast, I love toast, believe it or not. It's like sometimes I can be out all day, and I've out to it, I'll get home, and I'll just have 4 slices of toast with a bit of lard pack on, and I'm buzzing. Buzzing. And then I like bacon sandwiches, just plain bacon sandwiches.
You're a bit of a plain guy, you aren't you?
Bolognese and lasagna. I love Italian food.
Right, I see.
So if I go out, I go to Italian restaurants, or I go to Establo.
Aye, fair enough.
Yeah, because I like the meat, the minted lamb, the belly pork, all that.
Mate, you're getting us hungry, man.
Telling you.
Final question.
Yeah.
What is something that is kind of that people don't know about what goes on with Rate My Takeaway and growing it? Like, is there any downsides to it? Obviously, I know there's the work and all that, but is there anything where you're like, you know, like this happened or that happened, or do you know what I mean? Like, has someone ever did anything weird? Have you ever been stalked? Is there? Because I know there's a lot of people who get a lot of this.
Yeah, I've had people knocking on where I used to live, knocking on my door. I've had people, like, I did a PO box and I got like sent underwear and all this. Yeah, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't know. What I did with it is I put it in cameraman's bag just for laugh. I like opened it up and banged it in there, and his face when he opened it up, who's these? So they're not mine, pal. But yeah, I mean, I think like what people don't realise is you know, the mental space that you need to do something like this. So it's the same with you. It's not like you said, you're travelling miles, right, to do these podcasts. Then you're going to go back and you're going to edit it and make sure it's right, and then you're uploading it, and then, you know, you're waiting to see if then people are going to engage in it. So it's all that, and, you know, I'm not naive to the fact that, you know, this could end tomorrow for me. You know what I mean? Because
do you always have that up you? Like, do you feel like there's a fire up your arse?
It's like, you know, like I said, when I'm looking at what can go wrong, taking those things away, that's what I do. So I'm more of a firefighter than anything. It's like, right, before it gets too big, let's put this out and move on. So I think that's what people don't know is that side of it, that it can be so mentally draining. And sometimes I get up early in the morning, but sometimes I'm in bed by 8:30 because then I just switch my phone off. I watch a bit of telly and go to sleep. And that's what gets me through. I think, you know, if I didn't do that, if I didn't have a cut-off time, you know, it'd just drive me crazy. So that, you know, that's what you need. And I think, you know, in this world today, we need to show everybody love. You know, it's like I always say to people that when I was a kid, I knew everybody on my street. Knew everybody by name. I'd come out, all right, Jack, how you doing? All right, Deirdre, how are you, love? You know, now my kids, they don't know neighbours, they don't know who they are. People are scared to talk to each other. Somebody might move in, you might not speak to them for 2 or 3 years. Why? Why is that? You know, I think we just need to talk a little bit more, get to know each other a little bit more. I mean, I don't mean go and sit around somebody's house and put your feet up, but, you know, when they're outside, you all right, pal, what's your name? You all right? Put your bins out. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Just a bit of community, innit?
And that's what's going to, you know, keep things going in the world. Instead of people just going out to work, coming home, locking themselves away, getting up and doing the same thing like Groundhog Day. You know, let's just chat, talk, you know, just spread the love and the kindness, really.
I've got a worldly of a question, actually. I've got to ask you one more, mate. Obviously, you're well known, right? I can see the editor looking at us there going, one more question. And see, obviously, you're getting more well known now. Is there anyone who you've been surprised by who's a fan of you? Like whether it's a celebrity or just some...
Yeah. So Eddie Hall. I did a collab with Eddie Hall, and I messaged him and said, I don't know if you've seen my content, do rate my take. He messaged back within minutes, like, yeah man, I love it, love your content. I was like, wow. And then somebody, there's Stephen Tries. I don't know if you've seen Stephen. He's a YouTuber, you know, part of the younger generation.
Right.
And him and his mate, they've done a few sort of funny videos of me where they've been sort of basically taking the mick and like taking the mick of my accent and, you know, clipping some of the clips together. And I think it's funny because I love the banter. A lot of my fans went in on him. And he did something with Jack Whitehall.
Right.
And he's doing a bit of a skit with Jack Whitehall, and he's holding up pictures of YouTubers. So he says, do you know this guy, do you know this guy? Next thing, my picture comes up, and Jack Whitehall goes, oh yeah, that's the takeaway guy. I fell down a rabbit hole watching his gear. I've not looked back since. And I'm like, wow. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I can imagine him, you know, sat doing a show, and in between he's just sat watching me, and I'm thinking, that is just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Unbelievable, mate. Danny, thank you so much for coming on the show, bro.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you so much for that, mate. Really is appreciated, mate. Thank you. So you've made it to the end of this one. You're brave. But if you like this episode and you want to see more like this, click here and watch it.